well.
And the problem is our lines, our direct lines, there's no way to get access to them. So who knows how many calls we've missed already.
So our voicemail is taking calls?
No.
No, not even doing that. Okay.
Just a busy signal.
If you can count to 5 on that, and we'll want to see if it's getting picked up, volume's picked up yet.
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Count to 5, I think. He said count to 5.
Should have Mike done it.
Want me to go home early?
This is,
You may be dismissed.
are we live?
We'll sit in the corner. All right.
Okay, I'd like to call our meeting to order, but before we say the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to introduce a very special person this evening to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. A young man by the name of Giovanni Ahern. Giovanni was a participant at our town hall meeting this past Thursday. He obviously is a person that's interested in what is happening in the city of Darien and took the time to be dropped off by his mom, mind you, to attend this event, and had the courage to stand up in a large group of adults and asked a question. And I was just so impressed by what he did that evening that I invited him here to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So Giovanni, do you want to come forward and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I told Giovanni that we have, during our agenda, shortly in our agenda, there's an opportunity to ask questions, comments, and if he has any more questions. He asked a very pointed question at the town hall meeting. He asked what my vision, our vision was for increasing the sales tax. So we gave him an answer, and we thank him for participating in that meeting. So if you have any more questions, I told him about this, so he can prepare any more questions if he'd like. But let's have the roll, please.
Belkey. Here. Belzak.
Here.
Kenny.
Here.
Marquez.
Here.
McIver.
Here.
Shower.
Here.
Seifert.
Here.
7 present.
We have a quorum. The next item on the agenda is questions, comments, and announcements of a general nature. And anyone in the audience who would like to address the city council can come forward to the podium and fire away. I think it was like 7:35 when we started.
That's what I wrote.
Okay, good.
Guessed.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's move on to the approval of minutes. We have the minutes of the September 3rd City Council meeting. And do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Alderman Marquez, seconded by Alderman Kenny. Any discussion? The roll, please.
Marquez.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
Belkey.
Aye.
McIver.
Abstain.
Shower.
Aye.
Seifert.
Aye.
6 ayes and 1 abstention.
The minutes have been approved. The next minutes on the agenda is the September 26th Special Town Hall meeting. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Shower, seconded by Alderman Seifert. Any discussion? The roll, please.
Shower.
Aye.
Seifert.
Aye.
McIver.
Aye.
Marquez.
Abstain.
Kenny.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
Belkey.
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 abstention.
Those minutes have been approved also. The next item on the agenda is receiving of communications. Do any of the aldermen have communications to share? Alderman McIver.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've been receiving quite a few emails from residents that live in the subdivision behind Home Depot and Walmart, where there's been some graffiti and some concerns regarding, was there a meaning behind the graffiti, or was it just someone
Tagging.
tagging? And obviously, the concern is it gang graffiti? So I was going to ask the chief maybe to address that.
Want me to do it now?
Yeah, unless you have it covered in your.
That's fine. You can address it now.
No, the graffiti that was photographed and sent was
tagging type graffiti. It had no gang content. For lack of a better word, it was done for artistic purposes, youth for artistic purposes, but there is no identified gang affiliation with the tagging that was going on.
Good.
And I know municipal services removed that almost immediately upon notification.
Yeah, we got one today, another one today.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear
Was
that.
it similar to the one that we had on the signs that were on the front of 75th Street?
It was very similar in terms of its content, just really flowery scroll type,
Yeah, okay.
but it was no gang component.
I'm just curious if it's the same tagger or
It
if
didn't
it's...
appear to be the same tagger. It certainly could be, but it didn't appear to be. And what we're looking at is trying to figure out if we can catch this person doing it.
Yeah,
So tagging is just vandalism?
Yes,
Yes.
legally it's criminal damage to property,
Okay.
but if it's a kid, most likely he or his parents will be issued a citation.
Or she.
Or she,
being very democratic there, yes, okay.
Girls are creative, too.
Any other communications? Alderman Kenny?
Good evening, Mayor. I did receive a communication from a resident in my ward that wanted to remain anonymous regarding speeding through Darien Club. The chief's got a task out there, and they caught the individual that they thought was, speeding through, and they got him on the first day. It's a funny thing about it. His brother had gotten ticketed, 2 days before that, so we're on top of it. That's all I
Very
have.
good.
Thank you.
It's typically, it is our own residents that are doing this, unfortunately. Any other communications? I have a number of them. I received a thank you from the owner of Gail Sablick, the owner of the Wild Orchid Salon, the new hair salon in town, up in Chestnut Court, saying a thank you for the ribbon cutting and the grand opening. Hey, can you control that up here, Brian? Is that controllable up here?
One of the
squawk?
buttons, if it gets
Yeah.
bad, we gotta lower the button a bit.
Okay. Also, we received an email from a Naveen Venkatapathy saying thank you to Mary Wintermute, who helped her through the process of getting permits for some renovations that they were doing, home improvements at their home. She just wanted to say thank you for the wonderful employee that we have in Mary Wintermute. Also, John Sipp sent us an email complimenting us, the Public Works Department, on the excellent rear yard drainage work that was done on Hinsbrook and 69th Street. We've had a few storms since that was done, and he said there has been no rear yard flooding since that work, so kudos to the Public Works Department. Helen Koss, the owner of Alpine Banquet, sent me a letter saying thank you for all of the work that was done in helping them clear away tree damage after the, was it June?
Yes.
June storm. She had a wedding coming in that weekend, so she was very grateful for the help she received from our Public Works Department. Another email from, a letter this time from Louise Jackham, Holly. She was thanking us for all of the wonderful work we've done in Marion Hills to alleviate the drainage and refiguring the ditches in that area. And she said her sump pump is working really good right now, thanks to all that work that you did. And also for thank you for hooking her up with Genesis Surveying and Engineering, I guess, for an issue on her property. Yeah. And then the final letter I received was from the president of the District 86 School Board, thanking us for hosting the town hall meeting last Thursday. They were very appreciative of the effort and hopes we continue on doing that. So those are my communications.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry, I forgot something related to Public Works. We have a pond off of Beller in Farmingdale Village, and we had a very bad season of what everyone thought was algae, and so we were working with the Park District, and they sent somebody out. Just wanted the residents to know, the ones that didn't contact me, that it is not algae. It is a different kind of, what is it called, duckweed or something like that?
So, I guess that's the slang term for it. What the biological name for it is, it's unknown. I know I've been also working with Stephanie and getting for more information and another environmental environmentalist specialist so she can have a conversation with them and include things in their budget for next year.
Right, right. So whatever this, unfortunately, whatever this growth is, it's not algae, so therefore it's not necessarily treatable. And if it's treated, it's only with limited success. So they made, I think, a financial decision not to do that. So winter will take care of it for at least that season, but I've asked Dan to kind of maybe get involved a little bit with the Park District to see if there's some assistance, not financial, but, at least from a technical perspective, there might be some other options that we might be able to help them in terms of controlling it, because it was bad. I mean, it was like the whole pond was completely covered with this green muck all summer long, and we had it last year too. So that was one issue, and then we had a question from residents regarding, again, with the ash trees, the ones that have growth on the bottom but have dead branches on top. On the parkways, they're concerned about those branches being, are they dead? Are they alive? Should they be worried about, there's damage, they're over sidewalks? Dan, do you know what the communication should be to the residents who ask about those trees?
I was going to bring that up later this
Okay,
evening on my
then
report.
I'll leave it.
Yeah, okay, we'll leave
Okay.
it there. All righty. Any other communications to share? Then let's move on to the mayor's report, and I have a number of proclamations this evening. And do we have someone here for Fire Prevention Month? Okay, then I will, what I'll do is I will move to, I'll make that the last proclamation I'll read, because there are some residents here for the other two proclamations I have. And let me start out with the Filipino American Heritage Month. Whereas Filipino Americans make up one of the largest Asian American ethnic groups in the United States, and whereas Filipino Americans have contributed greatly to the economic, intellectual, spiritual, social, and cultural and political vitality of the United States. And whereas the trustees of the Filipino American National Historical Society established Filipino American History Month and promoted its observance annually and nationally throughout the United States and its territories during the month of October. And whereas the celebration of Filipino American History Month provides an opportunity to celebrate the heritage and culture of Filipino Americans and their immense contributions to our country, now therefore I, Kathleen Weaver, Mayor of the City of Darien, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2013 as Filipino American History Month, and urge all residents to celebrate this heritage and culture of the American Filipinos and their immense contribution to our country. And Ruben Salazar, Ruben, you are are you the president of the Filipino Association?
I am the past president of the Filipino.
Okay, Ruben Salazar and his wife Merle are here to accept the proclamation. So Ruben, would you like to come on up, and Merle? And Ruben, if you'd like to make some, comment here, would you come up and accept this? And then, would you like to make some comments?
Sure.
Okay. Now, you recently held your event,
Yes.
so why don't you speak to that a little bit too? And,
Okay.
or is Merle going to do the talking? Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mayor Weaver, and thank you for everyone for the proclamation. It's been since 2009 that the House had the Resolution 780 that declared the Filipino American History Month in October because of the fact that the first sighting of Filipino American landing in the United States is way back in October 1587. So, and it's only recently that we have recognized that part of the history of the Filipino Americans in the United States. So we're very proud that the city of Darien, having a good number of Filipino Americans, is declaring and joining the proclamation. So in addition to the city of Darien, we have the city of Chicago, the village of Skokie, Bolingbrook, and hopefully many more other villages and cities recognize the contributions of the Filipino Americans in the history of the United States. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ruben. Thank you. And now I'd like to, oops. Did you want to come up?
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you wanted to do this.
Why don't I, okay, Ruben, come on up, we'll do a picture here. Let's do it in front of the dais. Yeah. And I'm giving it to you.
Okay.
A reenactment.
A reenactment.
Reenactment here, okay.
And here's a copy of the proclamation from the state of Illinois.
Oh, wow.
And at the same time, we also have our newsletter inviting you to celebrate with us any of our events during October. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
What was it? Yes. Thank you.
The next proclamation is regarding Darien Lions Club Candy Day. Whereas a major humanitarian endeavor of the Lions Club has for many years been the raising of the funds for the assistance of community projects such as Schools for the Blind, Leader Dogs for the Blind, Dialogue for the Deaf, Illinois Camp Lions for the Blind, and in addition, the Darien Lions Club assists persons in the immediate area who have problems relating to blindness, hearing impairment, or other disabilities. And whereas the public response has been generous, with the result that great aid and comfort has been made possible for many citizens. Now therefore, I, Kathleen Weaver, Mayor of the City of Darien, do hereby proclaim Friday, October 11th and 12th, as Friday, October 11th and Saturday, October 12th, as Darien Lion Club's Candy Days in the City of Darien, and urge citizens of our community to support this very worthwhile organization in their fundraising drive. And I believe I have the president of the Lions Club, Jim Kaiser, here, and with his trusty friend Art. What's your last?
I'm the chairman of the Candy Day.
Oh, you're chairman of the Candy Day. Okay. Would you like to come up and receive this proclamation? And now, did you want to do a picture also, or?
Let's take a picture. Jim?
Okay. Okay.
Kaiser comes to his own camera.
Jim or Art,
Jim,
did you
you
want to
want the
address
both of
the?
you?
Oh, no, we're good. I'm in the middle. Anybody wants to volunteer, we're happy to do it, to accept you.
We have some leftover candy. Did you want to take it back with you?
No, those bribes are for you guys.
Oh. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Jim.
On TV.
Thank you, Art.
You're welcome.
The final proclamation I have this evening is for Fire Prevention Month, and it goes as this. Whereas smoke and poisonous gases are the leading causes of death in fires and can kill a person long before the flames will, and whereas underestimating the power of the fire and the time it takes to escape a home fire put people at severe risk of fire death and injury, and whereas developing a home fire escape plan and practicing it at least twice a year is critical to escape a fire safely. And whereas it is imperative that multi-story homes and commercial buildings are equipped with working smoke detectors and fire alarms. And whereas a complete home escape plan, which includes each household member knowing 2 ways out of each room, designating an outdoor location to meet when out of the house, and remembering the local fire emergency phone number. And whereas NFPA, the official sponsor of fire prevention, has documented many lives have been saved as a result of having all homes in Illinois equipped with smoke detectors. And whereas the members of the fire service are dedicated to the safety of lives and property from the devastating effects of fire. And whereas the members of the fire service are joined by other concerned citizens as well as other emergency service providers, safety advocates, businesses, schools, service clubs, and organizations in their fire safety efforts. And whereas fire prevention commemorates the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, which killed more than 250 people, left 100,000 homeless, and destroyed more than 17,400 buildings. And whereas for nearly 80 years, the NFPA has successfully joined North American fire departments each year during Fire Protection Week in a shared mission of making the public safer from fire. Now therefore, I, Kathleen Weaver, Mayor of the City of Darien, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2013 as Fire Prevention Month and urge the residents of the City of Darien to participate in fire prevention activities at work and school to ensure their safety and the safety of their families and friends in the event of a fire. And we do not have anyone here to accept that proclamation this evening, so we will make sure we get that to the right parties. Under the mayor's report, we have our presentation on our annual fiscal report for the year ending 4/30, and I believe we have a representative from Sikich. That's right, Tim Gavin. Tim, would you like to come up and do your presentation?
Yes, thank you.
Do you want to ask questions?
I do have one question.
Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Tim Gavin. I am an audit manager with Sikich, and we have completed the audit for the city's fiscal year ended April 30th, 2013. I'm happy to report that the audit went very, very well. We had the full cooperation of the city's accountant and the rest of the staff. And I'd just like to point out a few highlights in the annual financial report and our communication to those charged with the governance of the City Council. I don't know if you all are following along, if you have been given copies. I'll give you both the PDF page numbers and the paper page numbers, so you can follow along. The first thing I'd like to draw attention to, of course, is essentially what boils down to our product of the audit, and that's on page 1 of the paper copy. It'd be PDF page 9, and that's our independent auditor's report. What used to be a nice 3-paragraph concise opinion is now a 3-page extravaganza, the most important of which is on the second page, be PDF page 10. First paragraph is where we state our opinion. And the most important line there is, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the city. Essentially, that is what we call an unmodified opinion, which means it's the cleanest opinion and highest level of assurance we are allowed to provide. The next thing, and I would say the second most important thing apart from our opinion, and if you don't read anything else in the financial statements, read the management's discussion and analysis. You'll find that numbered MD&A 1, and if you're following along with the PDF, that'd be page 13. Paul has done a great job summarizing the results of operations of the city for the year, explaining how things have changed and why, and a lot of other very good, insightful information that gives you some context for the numbers contained in the report. It's presented in a very user-friendly way, unlike a lot of the rest of the report. So if you don't like reading financial statements, read the management's discussion and analysis, and you'll get a very good idea of how things came out. Specifically related to financial results, I'll just point out a couple of things very briefly. On page 4 is the citywide, what we call statement of net position, or the balance sheet. And for both the governmental activities, which includes the general fund, and business type activities, which would be essentially the water sewer fund, both of those reported positive unrestricted net position, which is a very good result. And then on the balance sheet of governmental funds is where you'll find the balance sheet for the general fund. And likewise, you have a positive, unassigned, unrestricted fund balance. So that is money that has not been restricted by any third parties or assigned to any specific function by the city. That is all unrestricted, unassigned monies. A couple other things to point out. Further back in the report, part of the required supplementary information I usually like to point out some of the results of pension funding. On, I don't have the PDF page number. It is paper page number 44. Shows the schedule of funding progress for the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund as the state pension plan that everyone but the police officers participate in. The funding ratio, or the middle column, you're at 68, approximately 68% funded, which is within the expected range, and it compares favorably to the benchmarks that we see across other Illinois communities. The following page reports the same information for the police pension fund. Your funded ratio as of April 30th, 2013 is 62.5%. Again, and that is actually improving. Again, that is within the expected range and favorably comparable to the benchmarks. And that pretty much sums up the financial statements. Before I move on, does anyone have any questions about the annual financial report itself?
Okay. Any questions from the council members? Ryan, did you have a?
No, just again, the Admin Finance Committee had the opportunity to go over this in more detail at the last month's committee meeting. Obviously, there's a lot of information in here. You started with the most important thing in terms of the clean audit, but again, just so everybody understands, the Admin Finance Committee went through this in a lot of great detail.
I believe Treasurer Corn has a question for you.
I don't know, are you going to make some general comments here, or are you just asking for questions on the financials?
Questions on the financials. I'll discuss the auditor's communication, and then I'll take more questions.
That's fine, go ahead.
All right. The other document that has been forwarded to you guys that we present is the auditor's communication. This is required communication under auditing standards. Basically, our report to you apart from the financial report. Inside, on page 2, which would be PDF page 4, is essentially a summary of the audit. Things that we're required to communicate to you regarding any changes in accounting policies, whether we encountered any difficulties, disagreements with management, etc. Of course, I'm happy to report there were no difficulties encountered, and we did not have any disagreements with management. Everything else is as expected. A few pages later, PDF page 12 is our management letter. It's where we have the any control deficiencies that we identified during the audit and our related recommendations. In addition to control deficiencies, we also communicate any upcoming accounting standards that will be in effect in future years. And a couple that I would like to point out in particular, because they will be, it's a very hot topic lately, GASB statement number 67 and number 68. That's on paper page 14. Those specifically relate to accounting for and reporting for pension plans. It's going to be a big change in the financial statements for a lot of communities, and it will, statement number 67 requires a lot of additional disclosure information in an effort to be more transparent about how pensions are funded and operating and the results of operations. GASB number 68 will actually require pension plans and employers to report the unfunded actuarial liability, which is actually in line with what the private sector is doing, but the public sector has not done that ever. It will be a big change. It will add several $1 million to your government-wide net position, and will show up as actually as a liability. So it's important to be aware of that upcoming standard. The statement number 68 is not effective until April 30th, 2016. However, all of the necessary steps to comply with the standard will have to get started within the next couple of years. So it'll come quicker than you think.
Is this just for municipalities, taxing bodies like us, or does this cover park districts, forest preserve, all of the schools and everybody?
Anyone with a defined benefit pension plan.
Okay.
So especially municipalities with police and fire pensions, but also it covers IMRF, which is a defined benefit, so that would be cities, villages, park districts, special districts, anyone who participates in IMRF, as well as school districts with their teachers'
Okay.
pension plans.
Okay, thank you.
And finally, the last component is something we are not required to communicate, but we throw in as some bonus material. The final 3 pages or 4 pages or so, we have what we call our GSTAT toolkit. Just provides some insightful information on benchmarks and how the city compares. It is a sampling of some of the data that is available through us. Hopefully, provide you some good context. And then the last few pages, just some information on Sickich and the various services we offer and some of the awards that we've won. I'd like to stress again that the audit went very well. Again, I'd like to thank Mike and Paul and the rest of the city staff for their cooperation. And I'd be happy to answer any further questions that you guys might have.
Okay, you had a
It's
question?
not a question, it's really more just a general comment. I'd like to thank Tim and the firm. I mean, I think this is the 6th year we've been working with Sickich, and I think you've done a very professional job. I mean, they do a lot of planning. We have a lot of meetings even before the audit starts to find what might be some areas that we want them to emphasize. So they handle it very professionally, done on a very timely basis. So I think it's been a good relationship. I've been very happy with it, so I want to thank you for that effort. Also, I guess I think it's important for the council to know, and I haven't even asked you this question, I didn't prepare you for this question, but how do we compare to the other guys? I mean, are we doing things to your liking? I mean, it sounds like you are getting the cooperation, which I would expect you to be getting from us. Do we compare favorably with other communities? I mean, I think we run a reasonably tight ship here. I mean, people are really involved. I'm very proud of the council we have here. They really do discuss things and give a lot of thought to things as they're going on. And I think we've been very conservative and gotten through a very tough time the last few years. And I think we've done it in a reasonable basis, but you actually have more insight into that, working with many different communities, if you can offer a little bit of insight on that area.
If you're asking in terms of cooperation with us and the performance of the audit, you compare very favorably. The city's always been a pleasure to work with. You and Paul in particular have been very, very cooperative. Consider the management letter to be kind of a scorecard for any deficiencies that we note, and it's always very common for us to find deficiencies in every entity. So a good way to gauge that is to see the kinds of comments that are issued and how quickly they are implemented in terms of our recommendations. I'm not sure if I've answered your question.
No.
That's part of it. The second part, I guess, is how do we compare to other municipalities? That's the part, again, that you would have more insight into. I would expect you to be getting the cooperation. I'm glad you are. But,
In terms of financial performance?
yeah.
Okay. That's always a tough question to answer, and I have to make the disclaimer that we as accountants and auditors are better thought of as historians as opposed to financial analysts. And again, that's why I pointed out in the balance sheets, you're positive, unrestricted fund balance and unrestricted net position. That alone will compare you favorably in this environment. But I always have to be cautious to draw any conclusions, again, because I'm not a financial analyst. And circumstances between different communities are different, sometimes to an extent that they're not very comparable. However, I would say having positive ending fund balance in accordance with your expectations would kind of default to a favorable comparison.
In other words, he cannot go on the record.
Yeah. I guess the one thing that I take out as a positive, last year we did a refinancing. As you're
Actually, we're
well
politicians.
aware of
Exactly, sure.
one of our prior bonds to get a lower interest rate.
Yep.
And the rating agency, who does do a thorough analysis looking at it, I guess more from that perspective, was able to maintain our existing credit rating even in spite of everything that the economy's been through in the last several years, so.
Yep, that's a very good indicator. The rating agencies do a lot more of the analysis work than we do. And,
We're AA3?
Double A2, I believe. Do you remember? Is it-
sounds
I
right.
thought it was
I thought
3.
3 too,
I thought
but
it was
I'd have
3,
to check.
yeah, AA3. Yeah, Alderman Belke?
Okay, with your toolkit at the end, I would consider that your benchmark for some of what Mike's addressing. For example, the city of Darien expenses per capita is 468, and your benchmark shows 644. So that's one highlight that I picked up. But what is your benchmark? I mean, are the other communities our size? Are they in the county? I mean, what is the area?
Well, I'll give you a little background on where this data comes from. We actually have a product. I'll try not to do too much marketing to you, but we have a product called GStat, and we've accumulated data from Illinois communities and these are all municipalities, no special districts or anything, that have earned the GFOA Certificate of Achievement in Financial Reporting. So these are all high-quality reports, and we get about 100 to 120 entities in our database per year, and we aggregate all that data. Now, this would be, the benchmark would be all entities in our database. So it would be both, comparable in terms of size and EAV, but also other cities smaller and larger. So it's a broad average.
So it's national?
No, it's just
No.
Illinois.
Okay, Illinois.
Yep. If you were subscribers to the product, you can actually choose particular entities or population ranges or EAV ranges and dive deeper down and find some more benchmarks.
Have you not subscribed the last couple of years? Because I noticed the latest comparison is 2011. I noticed the last 2 years don't have a
Yeah.
comparison.
We're always a year behind, and we are just now getting our 2012 data up, and has not been finalized yet.
Oh, when you get that, could you forward that to me? I'd be interested, and I'd like to share that with the council also.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any questions? Any other questions for for Tim? Tim, thank you for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
And we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
That concludes the mayor's report. Let's move to the city clerk's report.
We'd like to invite everyone to meet and greet the mayor on Monday, October the 21st at 6 p.m. here at Darien City Hall. Also, on behalf of the municipal clerks of DuPage County, we'd like to thank Chief Brown for an enlightening talk in regard to gangs in the suburbs, which was held here in Darien on October the 2nd. Thank you.
Let's move to the city administrator's report.
I have no report, Mayor. Thank you.
Let's move to the department head reports. Which, Chief, you're going to go first?
Evening, Madam Mayor, City Council. I have two very brief reports that I think are relatively important. I'm going to start with what I feel is most urgent. We've experienced a rash of burglaries in Darien recently, and this kind of segues into from a conversation that we've had before about being vigilant. In the last 2 months, from August the 6th till today, we've had 9 residential burglaries. 3 of those have been ruse burglaries. We're taking some steps from the police department side that I can't discuss now because it involves confidential informants and some other things that we're doing. But what I'm going to really, really need is for the help of the public in this, because burglary, first off, burglars are serial offenders, and they won't stop unless we catch them or unless we disrupt the way they do business. And because they're also opportunists, we have to be the ones that deny them the opportunity, both the police department and the citizens. So one of the ways to deny opportunities is to work smarter, not harder, and make them work harder. first and foremost, if you see something that you think is suspicious, call. Don't call 311. Don't call the 971 number. Call 911 immediately. We're happy to come out. We can investigate. In addition to investigating, it creates a pattern. If we see suspicious vehicles, if we recognize a suspicious vehicle in the area over and over, then we can begin to take some aggressive action on that individual. For seniors, 4 of those burglaries that we've had, let me digress for a minute. We've had 27 burglaries since January of this year in Darien. That's about a 30% increase over the same time period last year. So we want to nip this in the bud because we're creating victims. We're allowing victims to be created. So of those 27, 4 have been ruse burglaries. A ruse burglary is when someone dupes the resident into believing that they're a worker of some type, they're allowed to gain access to either the rear yard, the garage, or through the front door, and they convince the resident that they need to look at something in the back. When they do that, their accomplices are either at the front or somewhere nearby lurking, waiting for the distracted homeowner to be taken advantage of. And once that homeowner is distracted, then they go in and ransack the other part of the house. That first individual generally keeps them busy long enough for their accomplices to finish whatever it is they're trying to do, whatever they're going to steal. And as soon as the deed is done, then that fake workman is finished. So we don't admit anybody into your residence that you didn't solicit. If somebody comes to you saying, hey, you need fence work, you need yard work, you need gutter work, roof work, if you didn't call that person, don't admit them to your home, send them away and dial 911 immediately. If there are seniors, encourage your seniors not to open the door if you're not home, and equip them with a personal alarm where they can activate the alarm if someone shows up. If you have an alarm system, please activate it when you leave home. What we believe the modus operandi here is that there's someone cruising the streets, waiting to find empty homes or waiting to see people leave, and then conducting these burglaries, because several of the burglaries have been conducted with very short time frame windows. Within 2 hours, people are gone 2 hours, and they come back and find their belongings missing. So, like I said, we're going to be doing some really aggressive stuff from the law enforcement side, but we need all the help from the residents that we can get. Any questions on that portion?
And I think you sent out a press release too, didn't you, regarding the latest burglary?
Well, yes, ma'am. Some of the things that we're doing, press releases, we have door hangers that we've ordered that they proved to be very helpful with the burglary to a motor vehicle. Flyers, we're working collaboratively with several other agencies. There's a task force for the ruse burglaries. We're working with them. We're cooperating. We have at least one cooperating individual, an informant, who's working with us. So there are some things taking place. We're increasing and intensifying our patrols. We have some potential offenders identified that we're going to be pursuing very aggressively. Yes,
Alderman McIver?
Chief, you said 4 were ruse. What are the other types of, is there other areas that people should be more diligent in terms of protecting?
Yes, ma'am. That's a great question. First off, we've had several of these burglaries that have occurred because someone left their garage door open and accessible. And we talked about that before. An open garage door at night is like an invitation. And the sad thing is not only has that person now gained access to your garage, but if you have an attached garage, they've gained access to your inner sanctum, and it places a high degree of vulnerability. And I'd like to be able to tell people that only burglars only steal. We can't be certain of that, and so we don't want to give a burglar more of an opportunity than they should be. Others have entered through open windows, but the most recent ones have been the one yesterday was a broken out rear patio door. And so what you want to do is make sure that your patio doors are alarmed with glass breaks, so that if someone does break the glass, that an alarm is triggered. So,
Chief, have you noticed a pattern in the locations in the city that could give you an idea of how this is happening?
They're all over the place, and I don't want to discuss that online
Okay.
because of some things that we're doing, but
Okay.
I'll be happy to talk offline about that. So,
Okay.
But
I appreciate that.
yes, sir.
Chief, do you see more of this during the summer when people are on vacations and gone from their homes?
You know, actually, we were even, up until August the 6th, we were even with the 2011 and numbers, and about 2 over from 2012. And then there's been a spike. So what we suspect is one of 3 things. Either someone has recently been released from incarceration who could have become active again. Somebody was successful and told their friends about it, and they think they found a fertile hunting ground for burglaries. In any event, we're going to do everything we can to stop it.
Another question. How many people are taking advantage of the vacation watch, that form you fill out and you submit where the police come by, look at your homes while you're going on vacation?
It's a fairly small percentage. I would probably say about 2 or 3% take advantage of that. And that's another thing. If you're going to be away, please take advantage of the police watch. We offer special attention to the homes. We won't go up and shake the doors or anything, but if we're aware that you're gone and we drive past your house and we see lights and people walking around in there, then we'll know that there's something wrong. The other thing is if you're gone, don't leave your mail to pile up. Don't let your newspapers, anything that you're having delivered, make sure that you suspend that during the vacation time. And as always, put your lights on a timer. And don't just put your lights on a timer. Put your radios, televisions, and things like that on a timer, so that if you're going to be away and you don't have a house sitter, you have your instruments coming on at odd times, at different times of the day.
Chief, do you have any list that you monitor from the Department of Corrections that when past burglars are out, that are you anticipate them being paroled in a certain time period?
Yes, sir, we do.
Have our neighboring communities experienced the same? I mean, the ones in our area?
You know, quite frankly, we have not gotten as much assistance in that regard. And it may be that everybody is busy, so I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. But about 10 days ago, I submitted a request through the secretary for all the neighboring jurisdictions, specifically those with contiguous borders, to provide us any information on ruse burglaries specifically or other burglaries. And up to this point, I've only gotten 2 responses, and I think we sent it to about 15 different jurisdictions. So between myself and the Detective Sergeant Sheree, we're both working to kind of break those walls down a little bit.
Feel free to throw them under the bus then.
Yeah, that's what police departments are supposed to do,
Yeah.
work together.
Well, we should be collaborating together because it's certain, and one thing is for absolutely certain, is that a burglar doesn't stop at Darien, or he doesn't stop at Westmont or Woodridge or Burridge. Burglars continue to burglar wherever they can find good hunting ground.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you for all that valuable information.
The next piece, I just wanted to give everybody an update on the DARE transition, the transition away from DARE. Just as an update, as you guys recall, that when we moved to a different pattern, we set out to meet with all of the school administrators and local parents and local parent groups. We came up with a strategy at that time where all of the school districts agreed to take on the DARE component, the drug awareness component, and integrate that into their day-to-day curriculum at school, because it emphasized what the shortcoming of DARE was. By them taking it over, they are professional instructors, professional educators. They have the kids all the time. They're able to track and monitor the kids, so it made more sense for them to take it. And we would maintain or retain that portion of DARE that was most effective for us, which was the relationship building. So there have been some glitches early on in terms of communication and in terms of us having the correct codes to track it with. And I think we've worked out all the glitches. We met a couple of weeks ago with District 61. And up to this point, school's been in session about 7 weeks now. And we have 40 visitations, and we're working through some of the presentations from the school, getting information on this from the schools on what presentations they would like. Some of the presentations that we offer through the BOTVIN training, the life skills training from BOTVIN, they have already ingrained in their curriculum. So we're looking at some that they don't have ingrained in their curriculum, and then retooling some of those and adding some additional ones to it to make it more viable for them, so that ultimately the reason why we're seeking their input is what we wanted to do was whatever presentations we do, we want to tailor make that to each school district and not create a cookie cutter approach so that we're giving everybody the same thing. So I can give you a breakdown of the visits. What we're having now is we're excuse me, we have visitation during admission and dismissal times, school lunch periods. All those districts have provided us with their school lunch schedules. And so all of the superintendents and principals have given us pretty much free rein to come and visit with their staff, their kids, and themselves during those times. Those are their preferences. And then once we get the schedules down for the presentations, then we'll be there during those times as well. So the 40 visits accounted for about 24 hours of actual officer time spent at the schools, and that encompasses all the schools. For instance, we have five visits at Concord, 3 at Eisenhower, 3 at Elizabeth Ide, 5 at DeLay, 4 at Prairie View, 4 at Lakeview, 5 at Hinsdale South, 3 at Lace, and 4 at Cass Jr. So that's the kind of, we're able to track that now, so.
And I remember seeing a letter from the principal at Our Lady of Peace, who was very welcoming to
Yes,
our
yes,
police
yes.
officers.
And that's who I left out. We have 5 from OLP.
Our Lady of Peace, yes.
Yes. The only place, Kenswood told us they didn't want a police presence, and we accepted their
Yes, I saw
rejection.
that, yes, I saw that. Any other,
Questions?
any questions for the chief on this information? Okay.
Right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, City Council, our audience, and our viewing residents at home this evening. First of all, in regards to the, actually this evening, in front of you, you're going to have the tree trimming contract, which will be coming up for voting consideration. The vendor this year is Homer Tree Care. And pending council consideration, we're also introducing again the rear yard, front yard tree trimming program or private property tree trimming program. The pricing for the private property tree trimming is the same as last year, as well as the general program that we as a city will have. An example of this for the tree trimming in a front yard on a private residence will be $65. On a rear yard, $140. Also, there's pricing on removal of trees as well as stumping. All this information will be on our media portals, and pending on what the considerations tonight, we will start advertising tomorrow. The second item that I have for you this evening is the Emerald Ash Borer. Kind of a quick synopsis. We have completed the Emerald Ash Borer treatment with a product called Triage recently. Of that, we had treated approximately 2,400 trees. Of the 2,400 trees, we have to remove a total of 312. Of those 312, 120 trees have been removed to date. The current trees that are standing are all, slated for removal, are marked with a red dot. The overall budget for this was $180,000. We came in at $100,000, and that includes salaries, chemicals, and the balance, again, $79,000, $80,000 that we had left over. With that $80,000 that was left over, that application or funding has to get reverted to the removals, which is also on this city council agenda this evening. We have a remaining approximately 200 trees that need to get removed, and of those trees, that will be a cost of approximately $77,000. In respect to Alderman MacGyver's question earlier, what are we doing with the trees that are showing sucker growth, as it's referred to, and or dead limbs further up? Our approach this year is recommending that we're going to take a wait-and-see approach, and that wait-and-see approach will carry on until next spring. At the same time, the staff will present a cost to trim the dead branches and or the sucker growth, depending on what happens next year. There could be some leftover residual of additional ash trees that may die, so we don't want to start trimming them and all of a sudden we're going to be removing them for whatever the reason is. We will watch all types of ash trees, particularly ash trees, if in the event there's something identified as a hazard. We will take immediate action to remove any branches that are considered dangerous. Hopefully that answers that question for you, Alderman MacGyver.
Yes, thank you.
Is there any questions in respect to the trees or tree trimming? Kind of blended both of them together here.
Dan, if approved tonight, what would be the schedule for removal of the remaining ash trees?
It'll be starting within 1 week.
And how long would you anticipate that to go for?
By November, by mid-November, we should be completed with all the removals, including stumping. Restoration, though, and that's a good point, restoration may not be completed this year, but we will try to dress the sites up so they're not unsightly throughout the winter. We'll have to take we'll see what the weather does.
Dan, the replacement trees for the ones that are already moved, it sounds like they're coming soon?
And the replacement, yes, that's part of the tree planting program, which is a different program as well. The tree planting should begin within the next week to 2 weeks. The nurseries are a little bit behind. It's been a little too warm to start digging the trees, but they are slated for planting within the next couple weeks.
And then one last question on the private property contract. How does that compare to the pricing we had last year?
Trimming or?
Trimming.
Trimming, it's the same.
The same.
It's identical, and the
Okay.
pricing is very good. We did a little survey in comparison to adjacent towns, and our pricing is very favorable, and this was based on a 3-year contract, and again, this is the last extension for this contract this year.
Was that the same company that did it last year?
Homer Tree, correct.
Okay. Take advantage of that, residents, because I did. I do like a third of my yard trees a year, and it really makes a huge difference as far as their health and all the dead branches and so forth.
Yeah, it's a very good program, and it's very economical. I can't stress or just echo off of Alderman MacGyver's comments. If residents can do it, this is the opportune time to do it. If there's no more questions in respect to, I'm sorry.
For the private tree replacement, how long is that program going to last?
Actually, the program, it's over. If there are, if there's any residents out there that may have missed the dates, we will try to accommodate that with no guarantees, but the deadline was, I believe, Friday, September 27th, if I'm not mistaken.
I will say that because I did call them late, because of the fact they haven't dug up the trees yet, you might still be able to take advantage of that program.
Correct. And what Alderman Belsick has referred to as we had a program referred to as the private property tree planting, which gives residents the opportunity at good at contracted prices to plant trees within their own property, and we have a great selective
It's like a dozen
species.
different kinds of trees.
Yes, yes. So if anyone is still interested in purchasing a private tree, give us a call. You're better off going on the website, though. We do have some telephone problems, but nonetheless, please feel free to call the general number, 852-5000. There is someone that will be answering their phone. Again, our direct lines, especially for the department heads, our direct lines are not working at this time. Okay. Anyway, any more questions in respect to what I presented so far? The next item that I want to talk about is economic development. I think the first thing I want to ask is, what is economic development? If you look at all the different websites, there's a dozen of different meanings for it. The best one that I think I've found, I'd like to take a paraphrase from it. Economic development, from a public perspective, local economic development involves the allocation of limited resources, land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship in a way that has a positive effect of the level of business activity, employment, income distribution patterns, and fiscal solvency. That's my definition of economic development. Again, there's so many different definitions of economic development out there. I don't know if there's a right or a wrong. Anyway, with that said, what have we done for economic development? One, a prime example, I'll give you several examples, but my goal is on a monthly basis to go out to the businesses and frequent different businesses to see what's happening, what's not happening. Some of those activities, Home Depot, for example, they've had a new manager, store manager there, Steve Ziegler is his name. And we all know that Walmart is currently under construction, and Joe Cole is one of the construction superintendents for Nowak Construction out there. From an economic development standpoint, I have taken the time to introduce the Home Depot manager to Joe, and the Nowak company is basically using them to get materials which are right next to each other. So by having that introduction, again, there's additional revenues that are brought back into the city by people staying in Darien to shop in Darien. think we all know about True Value. True Value has recently closed up, is closing or in the process of closing. What have we done there? John Manos, we've been in contact with John Manos. Matter of fact, I had contacted John Manos prior to him even knowing that they were closing. Why did True Value close? I think the answer is pretty simple: competition. And that competition is right down the block, unfortunately. Matter of fact, this evening I had a conversation with Alderman Kenny. He has an opportunity to meet with someone, and we're going to try to take advantage of that by meeting somebody in a hardware industry to see if we can also bring somebody like that in. What does that area need? I think it needs something unique, something that we don't have. One of those ideas that we had recently brought back to John Manos and contacted a distributor was a fencing company. And that fencing company, call it like a virtual fence company, in which case residents would have the opportunity to walk into that space, and there'd be varieties and different species of fences. We don't have anything like that around here. Unfortunately, the distributor has a place similar to what I'm referring to in Oswego, and they don't want to bring that out here yet. So there's another idea that gets out there. We've also been working with Chestnut Court. Larry Maynard is no longer, or I should say has been transferred to a different division. Larry Maynard was the property manager for the Chestnut Shopping Center. Currently, there's a Laura Sawick there and a James Pratt. They've been doing some modifications to the front of the entrance to their Lamont Road location. Also, a new hair salon, which Mayor Weaver presented this evening, has recently moved in there. We've also been working with them probably for the last couple of years in respect to exports. We've heard that exports is going to be taking on additional space. Well, one day it is, the next day it isn't. So those are things that we're constantly working on, and a lot of the information isn't put out there because they turn into rumors sometime, and we don't have that solidified information. The next thing is that we've been working on also recently is with Larry Famorello, who's the owner of Darien Plaza, or right adjacent to Q. For example, we've been working with Christine Rose with Pace. It's a little bit of a unique project. What that project involves, and it's still evolving, if you want to say, we've had several meetings with both of the parties, as well as the adjacent office building there. And the goal there was to be able to create that existing outlot into a park or share and ride, if you want to say, with the Pace and that would basically use I-55 as a drop-off point, to get people downtown, and the Darien location would be a drop-off point, a pickup point for residents. So in that respect, what does that do for economic development? That would give the opportunity for that plaza to potentially flourish and to attract more new businesses, whether it be a coffee shop. You currently have Lenote there. Lenote could be a beneficiary of this program if it comes to fruition. And obviously, it's a lot more work, and this is something that we've been working with the owner as well. And what else do I have for you? Is shows. We try to go to shows, and those shows are referred to the International Council of Shopping Centers, or the acronyms are ICSC. This year's program was in Las Vegas in May. We did not attend that one. Next year's program is also in Las Vegas again. That's the global event. They do have some of the smaller events at Navy Pier. This year's Navy Pier, from some of the peers I had spoken with, it was more for brokers this year than it was for like a Starbucks coming in there or something like McDonald's. So a lot of big names weren't there, whereas the global, on the global side, there's more companies that are there. And when I say companies, the Starbucks, the McDonald's, and unique franchises that are up and coming. In respect to the Heritage Plaza, we've been working with the Heritage Plaza on a plan, and that plan is going to be presented to the City Council here very shortly, or I should say in the upcoming month. We've been working with the existing retailers or some of the existing retailers that are there. Our goal was to present back to City Council who wants to stay at the Heritage Plaza and what are they willing to pay. So we've received letters of intent from some of the owners, business owners, and we've also gotten a couple new perspectives. And again, those will be presented later on, all with letter of intents. Those letters of intent, what they equate to is basically to give the staff an opportunity to go and look at what will the reinvestment cost for a new building, for example, or on a remodel side. You know, and then again, we'll be evolving from there. But that's another item that we're working on, economic development. In respect to the Heritage Plaza, we're also working with Colonial Manor, which is adjacent to the Heritage Plaza. Again, with them, we're working with opportunities to swap some property and to create a common detention facility to potentially have a better impact on the entire development. So with that said, that's all I have for you this evening. I'd be more than happy to answer any additional questions.
I asked Dan to do this presentation because I had heard some comments after the town hall meeting, and you know, I alluded to it during the town hall meeting, and it was important that we let people know how much we are doing that is not apparent to the average citizen. And, you know, I made broad comments where, you know, just the economic downturn. We've talked to so many businesses. We've talked to Francesca's restaurant to come into Darien. Nobody's making any moves, and we need to let people know that it's just, you know, it's the timing right now, and we expect things to improve.
We do, and there's constantly, you know, there's several vendors that we've been in contact with. The Cafe Corner, we got the fireman's sub. Starbucks is one of the ones we're recent, some of our more recent beginning conversations. Again, while I'm saying Starbucks, it could be someone else, Caribou.
I mean, Seattle Best, I think Caribou's out of the picture now, but there's other coffee shops too. Brian?
Yeah, Dan, you and I have talked about this before. One of the challenges is really how do you measure success? Because Dan could talk about all these things, and it's unlike the audit that we saw tonight that is, you know, very measured against standards and against, you know, monthly reconciliations. This really is, it's hard to measure. I could tell you some of the things I look at in trying to measure our success is really our sales tax revenue. We always have to watch that to see if that's growing because, you know, for us and the residents, that's certainly an important measure that reflects, again, improving economies, new business, just our stores doing better locally. Another thing, if you mentioned it, I'm sorry I didn't hear it this time, but we've met with a number of local property managers or business owners, and quickness and response to their needs is critical. And again, in meeting with John Manos and others over time, when we tell them, or Inland, hey, we can get you before the city council in 2 weeks, and the city council is very supportive of moving these things quick. In the development world, that is certainly critical. I know a couple years back we looked at vacancies in square footage. We took a look at all of our property, and at that was a couple of years ago, but even at that point, our square footage vacancy rate was lower compared to some of the surveys. So again, just a different perspective on how we try to measure these things to see if you know, how is our business climate.
And just, and I'm sorry, just to echo off of Brian's comments, I think Chuck's is a prime example of the city council bringing, you know, Chuck's in, and it basically took almost 3 years by the time we put it together. And, you know, I freak with them at least on a monthly basis to see what's missing, what's not going on, and they're telling me that they're very successful. You know, so again, we're going to see that at the end of the year through the reporting that they're required to by agreement, as well as PAMI's, for example. We talk about being on the spot. PAMI from PAMI's recently contacted me, and they're interested in putting in a drive-through. You know, so John Manos owns part of the parking lot, and in conjunction with that, John felt that that wouldn't be possible. At the same time, Pam called me up directly, and we had a meeting out there. We met out there, we looked at the site, and they go, there's opportunities, there's a possibility. So again, you know, we're always looking at thinking out of the box, and again, a lot of these things never do come to fruition, so bringing them forward sometimes, they're a useless efforts, because there's no progress in that respect.
Yeah, I think we called Trader Joe's so many times that they said, don't call us anymore.
Literally,
So,
they told
yeah.
me, don't call us anymore, we
Yeah.
don't want to hear from you,
Yeah.
so.
And that was before we brought in Ross and Oak Ridge, or John Fabrics, I think, yeah.
All of them, actually.
All
Ross,
three, yeah,
yes.
yeah. So, Alderman McIver?
I just recently have been to two separate locations like this. One was in Westmont, one was in Glen Ellen, where they've taken a space, a commercial space, and they've done, I guess it's kind of like the new thing for hair salons where you have independent stylists. They build out a space into like these individual little kind of rooms, and then,
Boutiques.
yeah, like little boutique, so that an independent stylist would have like all the resources, like a common shampoo area or whatever, but then they'd have their own little room to do, you know, the services. There's one really big one in Glen Ellen, in that off of Roosevelt, where that Dominic's is. I forget the name. It's like Sola Salons or something like that. But you know, a developer basically builds out the space for independent stylists to you know, lease that little spot, so they don't have to, you know, they make more, I guess it's more money for them, and they can pick their hours and so forth. And then there's one on Cass, actually.
Westmont?
In Westmont.
That's the one where, as a matter of fact, I'm speaking, I don't recall her name, I'm working with her right now. She's looking at a site here on Cass
Yeah,
Avenue.
it's a good idea. So people like working moms can, you know, kind of make their own hours.
I don't go to salons, excuse me.
But anyway, just another different kind of business model, I guess.
Right, and that's, and I'll have to discuss that with you, but I believe she lives in your ward, too.
Yeah, she does.
Okay.
Any other questions? Alderman Belke?
Can you give us an update on Chase?
That's gonna be my last part, and it's really,
Best for last?
disappointing. Recently, we've gone, I'll call it up the ladder with Chase. With that said, Chase has forwarded us an email. They will not be starting until 2014, late 2014, meaning that they'll be opening in 2015. Part of the problem was that they were over budget, and when I say over budget, extreme numbers over budget due to some oversight on the site development itself. With that said, they're trying to allocate additional funding, and also we were told that due to certain federal regulations, they were required to put to do some additional things within other communities to satisfy a part of the federal government mandate, I'll refer to it as.
What does that mean?
For example, they were required to have so many buildings or sites located with certain areas that didn't meet some levels, some type of levels.
Low to moderate tracks.
I'm sorry?
It's low to moderate tracks, Community Reinvestment Act, basically.
So areas that are not as
Economically, yes.
economically developed as we are,
Correct.
well-to-do as we are, okay.
I don't know, they seem to have popped up all around us.
Well, I guess Westmont must be one of those areas.
And Downers Grove.
Well, Westmont was an existing building, and
That was a bank, a different bank branch.
The third.
Yeah.
No,
Charter.
63rd and Main Street is a new one.
That was on the Downers Grove docket for a couple of years. I read some articles and talked to them, and that was another project, for whatever reason, was delayed. But I think in part, as Dan said, it was also getting the money reallocated. When we spoke with them on the phone, they were very clear about that they needed to go back in their corporate structure and get X amount of dollars reallocated because they were over budget. So it sounded like a combination of a few things.
How are we covered that, and with respect to that contractually?
we're not.
There's
There's
nothing
no
in-
requirement or time frame to build.
There's no guarantee that they'll do it.
Well,
Ever.
we have their money, and it's not going back to them, that's for sure.
But we can't do anything with that property either.
Correct. We don't own the property, and as much as it was disappointing, they gave us no indication that they're looking to get out of this property. The same reasons they bought it, they still like it, and they want to develop it. So as we get closer, we'll continue to monitor.
Who takes care of that property from now till 2014?
Chase.
15.
Thanks, Dan.
That was
To
a,
end on that.
yeah, that was a
nice,
downer.
good report. We should
They
have
should have started out.
switched the order.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This evening, I'm requesting council's approval of warrant number 131409 in the amount of $503,770.22 from the listed funds. Payroll for this period ended September 5th, 2013 of $246,678.39 for a total to be approved on this warrant of $750,448.61.
Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Shower, seconded by Alderman Belke. Discussion? The roll, please.
Shower,
Aye.
Belke,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Marquez,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
McIver,
Aye.
Seifert,
Aye.
7 ayes.
Also requesting council's approval of warrant number 131410 in the amount of $381,966.42 from the listed funds. Payroll for the period ended September 19th, 2013 of $269,246.18 for a total to be approved of $651,212.60.
Motion to approve. Alderman Seifert, seconded by Alderman Kenny. Discussion? The roll, please.
Seifert,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Belke,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Marquez,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
McIver,
Aye.
7 ayes.
That warrant has been approved. Do you want to go over the monthly report?
Yes. This evening, you'll notice that we have the monthly report for August 31st. And as I've been promising you for the last couple of months, now that the city's annual audit was completed, on the right-hand side, you have a little summary which reflects the difference when we were working on the budget back in February and March, the difference in the fund balance from what we were projecting at that point to what the actual audited numbers are. The only significant difference is in the general fund, and it's a positive difference. The general fund ended up with $847,000 more than we were anticipating at that point. You'll notice the water depreciation fund reflects a difference of $128,000 positive. But that's mostly a difference due to the cash to accrual conversion. So Brian, when we're working with this during budget time, he's working more on the cash basis. When the auditors come in, they convert it to the accrual basis. So that's not really a true difference that's of consequence in my mind. Most of the rest of the differences in fund balances are fairly close. So I'm going to concentrate my discussion unless someone has questions with respect to the general fund. That $847,000, $75,000 of it, we went through this earlier with the Finance Committee this evening, $75,000 of it was from the utility taxes. The auditors, when they audited this year, they said we had been presenting it on the cash basis in the past. It should have been on the accrual basis, so they picked up 13 months' worth of utility taxes in the current year. That reflects $75,000 of that increase. The balance was spread equally, about half and half, between excess revenue, which is a good thing, and lower expenses, which is also a good thing. About $300,000 of excess revenue, basically state income tax and sales tax revenue. Lower expenses, largely police overtime was down by about $100,000. And various other expenses, benefits ended up being lower than we had anticipated. So it's a very positive difference. Brian is going to put on, or be requesting, I guess, of the council in accordance with our policy that we adopted late last year, that we transfer that to the capital improvement fund at the next meeting. So just to prepare you, that'll be coming down the pike, which again is in accordance with our policy that we adopted late last year. That being said, I'm happy to address questions there, and then I'll just regurgitate the numbers as of August, as I usually do, just to get them on the record. But I'm open for questions if you have questions with respect to fund balance differences or anything at this point. Otherwise, the monthly revenue and expenditure report is of August 31st. The general fund reflects year-to-date revenues of $5,241,047, expenditures of $4,032,875 for a fund balance of $2,979,181. Water fund year-to-date revenue of $1,781,029, expenditures $1,483,426 for a current balance of $1,170,098. Motor fuel tax Fund, year-to-date revenue $178,877, expenditures $137,809, for a current balance $333,777. Water Depreciation Fund, year-to-date revenue $2,109, expenditures $51,900, current balance $692,928. Capital Improvement Fund, year-to-date revenue $3,024,182, expenditures $2,244,607, for a current balance of $4,590,673. Capital Projects Debt Service Fund, year-to-date revenue $263,911, expenditures of $86,838, for a current balance of $184,933.
Okay. Questions? No. Okay. If there's no questions regarding the revenue expenditure report, let's move on to standing committee reports. Alderman Shower?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The minutes of the September 3rd, 2013 Admin Finance meeting have been submitted to the clerk, and our next Admin Finance meeting will be Monday, November 4th at 6 p.m. in our upstairs meeting room.
Alderman McIver?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our next police committee meeting will be on Monday, October 21st, 6 p.m., which is the same evening as, I think, Meet the Mayor, and same time. So I think we'll be downstairs and you'll be upstairs?
Correct. So, and Alderman Marquez?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The meeting minutes for the August 26, 2013 Municipal Services Committee were approved and passed on to the clerk. And the next meeting will be October 28th, 2013 at 6:30 here in the council chambers.
Thank you. Let's move on to the questions and comments, agenda-related. Does anyone in the audience want to address us on any items that are on the agenda tonight? Let's move on to old business. And there being no old business, I'll move right to the consent agenda and read the 5 items that are on the consent agenda. The first is a motion to grant a waiver of the raffle license bond requirement for the Darien Chamber of Commerce. Item B is a motion to approve a resolution for the maintenance of streets and highways by municipality under the Illinois Highway Code. And this is for the funds that we're using for the emerald ash borer tree removal. And item C is a motion to approve an ordinance authorizing the sale of personal property owned by the city of Darien, which is a 2004 Taurus. Item D is a motion to approve a resolution to enter into a contract with Homer Tree Care in amount not to exceed $94,000 for the city's 2013-14 tree trimming and removal program. The last item is a motion to approve an ordinance amending Title III, Chapter 3, Section 3-3-7, classifications of license and fees, and Section 3-3-8, conditions and restrictions of license to add the Class M liquor license. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Seifert, seconded by Alderman Belke. The roll, please.
Seifert.
Aye.
Belke.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
Marquez.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
McIver.
Aye.
7 ayes and no nays.
All items have been approved. And the next item on, is new business, and there being no new business, let's move right to questions, comments, and announcements of a general nature. Do any of the aldermen have any announcements at all?
I have a question.
Yes.
Do we have a date yet for the goal-setting session?
We have set a date.
It was November
13th.
November 13th?
I will send the email reminder out.
I thought you did already.
Well, I sent one out. I
Oh,
don't have
I'll
that in front of
remind-
me, but
okay.
it was the Wednesday.
Okay. And then the other thing I think that I brought up to city staff and the chief was the concern by, it was brought up by a resident regarding DuPage Housing Authority. And I personally reached out to several entities at the DuPage Housing Authority regarding rental properties for seniors in DuPage County, and no one returned the call. So I'm just wondering if it doesn't make sense. I know that the chief actually said that the officers that care for the seniors would get involved, but it might be interesting to get someone from DuPage Housing Authority to come to a city council meeting and talk about what services they actually provide. The residents of Darien, in particular the seniors, because it was very frustrating, you know. I did talk to some administrative person who was not a decision maker and was told that the waiting list is 8 years for seniors. And I said, well, and it's closed, so you can't even get on a waiting list. And I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. What kind of a list is it that you can't even add people onto? I'm thinking over 8 years, that list could potentially change. And it was just, no one at a power level ever called back, and I placed several calls and left voicemail messages and sent emails, so.
Well, you might recall that there's been a great deal of upheaval on that. Dan Cronin completely removed the whole board.
Yeah.
And has all new members on the board now. And I remember having a conversation with the person that was the interim chairman, and I told him about our concerns that when we had Meyer Senior Hauser before us, we were told that our residents would have priority. And he quickly informed me that whoever told us that had no authority to tell us such a thing.
Right, yeah.
So, and I think that goes back to the management and that's still, I understand, is still a struggle going on with that whole issue. Have they appointed a total new board? Do you know, Dan or Brian?
Yeah, the last I read, it's a new board, new executive director. And then they had an executive director who I think he only lasted about 8 months. But I think I'm going on 2012's information. But,
Yeah.
you know, as a public entity, they should be happy to come out and
Well, I mean, tax
present during-
dollars are going there, and, you know.
Well, it's obvious they're not building any
there's
more
no
facilities.
Right, and there's no, you know, I mean, what are the services that they provide? You know?
Yeah.
And how do residents get into whatever that system is? Because the way they represent it, it's like, you know, the shutters are closed.
Why don't we contact them and make sure we get someone out?
Sure.
Yeah, that's an important
Yeah.
issue.
It's ridiculous.
Okay, thank you for bringing that up. Alderman Seifert?
A few weeks ago, we had a presentation from the Darien Woodrich Firefighters Union about their 5K walk benefiting St. Jude's. It was the first one that they did, and I did have a chance to go with one of my daughters, and it was a really nice event. They had a pretty decent turnout, and hopefully they'll do it again.
That was at Myers Woods too, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was real nice.
Good day?
Great day.
Good.
So
5K?
it was a 5K walk, yes.
Walk.
Yeah, so I can walk 5K.
Is anyone in the audience wanted to address the city council? Then with that, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn. Alderman McIver, seconded by Alderman Belke. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Let's get this framed, Brian.
You want it in the office?
Sure, I can put it in my office or in the hallway. No?
Chase's